In music, a triad is a grouping of three notes, basically a three-note chord. The two most common triads are major triads and minor triads. But there are many other triads that you can build. Triads can be found in almost any style of music and are a fundamental aspect of music theory, making them well worth taking the time to understand. On guitar, there are countless ways of building triads and incorporating them into your playing, so rather than just giving hundreds of different shapes for you to memorize, this series of videos is going to explain how to build your own triads. In this video, we will look at major triads. Before going over how to build a major triad, we need to look at the major scale. The major scale follows the following pattern: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And on guitar, it looks like this. A whole step is equal to 2 frets, and a half step is equal to 1 fret. If we start on this C note and follow the pattern, we will get this is our C major scale. And this can be done starting on any note, and then you will find the major scale of the note you started on. So here is the G major scale. Any major scale that involves more than one string follows this pattern, but instead of moving further and further up the neck, the higher notes can be played by moving up a string. Now on to building a major triad. A major triad consists of the root note, which can be called 1, along with the major third and the perfect fifth intervals. To see how this relates to the major scale, look at the C major scale. C is our 1 or root note, E is our major third, and G is our perfect fifth. If you play these three notes together, C, E, and G, you will be playing a C major triad. There are many ways of building this C major triad when you look at the neck of the guitar. Here's one, and another, and here's another one. A really nice thing with these major triads is that once you settle on a specific shape you want to play, you can move that shape up and down the neck. Here's an example of this. Let's say I settle on this C triad. If I move that shape up so that the root note is an F, then I would play an F major triad. If I move it up 2 more frets, I would have a G major triad. Now I can play a 1-4-5 progression using these triads. But let's say you want to play a 1-4-5 progression not using the same shape for each triad. To do this, I will show you an easy way of identifying the notes that make up the major triads in a given key. You start with the major scale of that key. In this case, we will look at the key of C. In the key of C, there are 3 possible major triads, and those are C, F, and G, or the 1, 4, and 5, respectively. If we start on C and count up, we can easily identify the 1, the major third, and the perfect fifth that will make up our C major triad. We can also do this with our F and G, since they are our 4th and 5th in the key of C. We can start on F and count up to A, which is our 3rd, and then to C, which is our 5th. Then, starting on G, we can count up to B, which is our major 3rd, and then to D, which is our 5th, up from G. And now we have the notes that make up our C, F, and G triads. Once you know the notes that make up your triads, you can build them in lots of different ways. Here's an example of a 1-4-5 progression using 3 different shapes for my C, F, and G major triads. I will show you this again, but in the key of E. Here is our E major scale, and here is our first triad. It's an E major triad. E is our 1, G sharp is our major third, and B is our 5th. Notice how I counted up from E. The other two major triads in the key of E are A and B, because these are our 4th and 5th notes of the major scale. Let's look at the A major triad. We can start on A, and if we count up from A to C sharp, that's our major third. And then we keep counting and we get to our 5th, which is E. So the A major triad is made of A, C sharp, and E. Now we can do it with B in the same way. B is our 1. We count up and we get to D sharp, and that's our major third. And then we keep counting and we get to F sharp, and that's our 5th. Now that we have the notes of our triads for the key of E, we can use those to find as many major triads in the key of E as we want. Now I'm going to talk about what are called inversions of the major triad. It is most typical for a chord to be arranged so that the lowest note in the chord, also called the bass note, is the root note. When a chord or triad in our case is built this way, it is in root position. But you can also arrange a triad so that either the major third or the perfect 5th are the bass note. If we make the major third the bass note, then we are playing the first inversion of that triad. If we make the perfect 5th the bass note, we are playing the second inversion of the triad. I will show you 3 different C major triads. Here's a standard C major triad in root position. See how the lowest note in it is a C. Here is a triad using the first inversion. Notice that the lowest note in it is an E, which is the major third. And here is a triad that has a G in the bass. This is a second inversion because our perfect 5th, G, is in the bass. One final note about major triads is that you can incorporate them into your playing in many different ways. You can play them as chords, as we have been doing, and this will involve 3 different notes being played on 3 different strings. But we can also play arpeggios with those same shapes, or find shapes that involve playing 2 of the notes using the same string. Here's an example of this. I'm going to play an F major triad in root position. So here's my F, and it's going to be the lowest note since I'm in root position. And now I'm going to play this A as my major third, and then I'm going to reach up and play this C as the 5th in my major triad. There are lots of patterns like these on the guitar, where you're playing a triad and 2 of the notes that make up that triad are played on the same string. And like all triad shapes, these are movable. So when you find one pattern like this, you can move it up and down the neck. Here's an example of that. That was me moving from an F major triad up to a G major triad using the same shape. This concludes part 1. In the next video, we will look at minor triads.